Hey everybody, welcome into the back room. I'm Andy Ostroy. We have filmmaker Lee Kirk with us today. We'll chat with Lee in just a second, but first, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you listening, and we'd love to hear your comments. So email us at backroomandy@gmail.com and or post on our social media, and we'll read some feedback next time. And if you like the podcast, please follow or subscribe and rate and review, and you'll be notified every time we post a new episode. So Lee Kirk is a filmmaker and playwright whose feature films as writer-director include Ordinary World, starring Billie Joe Armstrong, Selma Blair, Judy Greer, and Fred Armisen, and The Giant Mechanical Man, starring Jenna Fischer, Chris Messina, Topher Grace, and Bob Odenkirk. His award-winning play, Ashland Avenue, had its world premiere in October 2025 at the Goodman Theatre in Chicago. He has directed numerous music videos as well as episodes of the NBC comedy The Office. And he's here today to discuss his terrific new film, NIMRODS, which opens in theaters nationwide August 14th. It's a 90s-inspired coming-of-age road trip movie inspired by the band Green Day's early days. Lee, welcome into the back room.
Thank you, Andy. Nice to be here.
So, congratulations on the upcoming release of NIMRODS. I think August 14th is the date, right?
That's right.
Hits in
August
theaters.
14th.
So congrats again on that. I'm sure there's a lot of Green Day fans out there who are very eagerly awaiting the release of this film. I've seen it, and it's amazing. I really loved it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to talking with you about it. So what was it about Green Day's origin story that made you think this isn't a biopic, it's a road movie?
Well, originally, the original idea that Billie Joe came to me was just a movie that had a Green Day concert on New Year's Eve at the end of it. And it was somehow about the people going to that movie, right? So we talked about, well, what could this story be of this movie? And we eventually landed on this idea of these three kids in a band who are driving across the country for reasons that turn out to be false, but I won't spoil that. But then I needed to come up with stories for these guys in terms of what happens to them along the way. And that was when I decided I should just ask Billie Joe, Mike, and Trey for some fun stuff that happened to them. So they told me some fun stories, and I sort of took those stories and sort of remolded them and put them in the film. But then I just didn't stop there. I kept asking them other questions and kind of put a little bit more details of who they are and what their lives are and stuff that other details like Mike always used to have this puppet on the road and he'd pull out. So I gave one of the characters a puppet. And anyway, it turned out to be not a traditional biopic, but it's a story that has Green Day's kind of fingerprints all over it. And I think by the time you watch the movie, you get to the end of the movie, you feel like you kind of understand who they are, and what they're about, without really telling their story literally. But I think you get the sense of it.
It's such a fun film. So you've collaborated with Billie Joe before. Is this like the new Scorsese, De Niro, or Scorsese, Leo relationship happening here?
I mean, who knows? But I don't think we'll be quite that prestigious. But yeah, we've worked together before, and we had a great time working together on our first film we did, Ordinary World. And so I'm just grateful that when it came time that he wanted to do the Green Day movie, that he reached out to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So they produced the film. Talk a little bit about the band's overall involvement and how much creative freedom you had.
So it was kind of incredible how much creative freedom they gave me. I mean, I went off, I wrote the script. I sent the script to Billie Joe. He read it. He gave me a couple of notes. I went back and did another draft. And then he said, I think we should just do a reading for the band. Let's let everyone hear the script. I think he felt like, I don't know if I want to give everyone to read a script. Let's just let them hear it. So I got a bunch of actors together and we got the band and all their people together and we just did a reading of it and it just went over great. And they were all like, thumbs up, man, let's do this movie. And so then they went off on a world tour and I went off and made the film. And along the way, I would sort of send them little dailies and things that I was excited about and they were getting excited about it. But it's really kind of amazing that I had the entire catalog of music to choose from. So
awesome.
Probably 80% of the songs in the movie were there in script form. And then about 20%, like in the editing room, I realized I want to maybe make a change, try a different song. But but then finally I showed them the movie. I said, here it is, guys. Here's what I came up with. And they were thrilled. They were thrilled. I expected they may say, maybe don't use that song or whatever, but they didn't. They just said, we love it, man. What do we got to do? Let's get it out there. So they were there throughout the process. If I had a question for them, if I wanted to lean on them about something, but they really let me make my film, which was just a true gift,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so with shooting, did they put down all their scenes at once, or was that spread out over a period of time?
No. So what we did is we shot in Oklahoma City for 28 days, and then we relocated to LA, where we were going to shoot the Palladium concert. Mm-hmm. And so then we also shot their record store scene that happens early in the film. We shot that also in LA. So we had them for 4 days in LA, and we just shot all their stuff right then on those final 4 days of the shoot.
Mm-hmm. They're pretty good actors.
They're good.
They're naturals.
They're naturals. I mean, they're so charismatic, those guys.
Yeah, Trey Cool is like, he brought a special sauce to the performance, I thought.
Always does, that guy.
Yeah. And so I'm sure we have a lot of Green Day fans here. So do you have any like juicy, gossipy, behind the scenes Billy Joel or Green Day stories that you can share?
I mean, the funny thing about it is knowing those guys, right? Getting to know them and who they are. They're special people because they're world famous rock stars, but they're dads and husbands, and they that's what they think about, and that's how I know them. When we get together, it's usually their kids, my kids, my wife, their wife. We're all together as families, and so, unfortunately, there's no crazy story. The craziest story I have is when we were one time at the NHL All-Star Game. Green Day played the NHL All-Star Game, and my wife actually was asked to be a celebrity coach. So we were all there at the All-Star Game, and then after we all went to a party, and we were in a hotel room partying, and there was pizzas, and Trey, I could just tell he just needed to throw that pizza off the balcony. And he's like,
I was just going to ask you, so nobody threw a TV out the hotel window?
Yeah. Probably one day it was TVs. Now it's pizza, man. He's like, I think we should throw this pizza off the balcony.
You're a rocker, man. You got to throw something out of a hotel window.
That was it. I think he knows something has got to go off the balcony. I don't know what it's going to be. It might just be this pizza. Yeah.
That is too funny. So the film captures the optimism and delusion of young musicians chasing a dream, and you did that really well. Is there a version of yourself somewhere in these characters? Were you a musician at all? Were you able to bring anything from your own life into it? Or, there's a desperation and an excitement and all this stuff that is in the young characters as they trek across country that I loved when I saw it.
Well, thank you, man. And yes, I mean, the short answer is yes. So, when I first started working on this film, I realized the task ahead of me. I had to make a Green Day movie. So a movie that felt like them and kind of showed who they are and had all the facets of Green Day. But somehow I had to make a personal film as well, or else, it probably wasn't going to be very good. So I really kind of leaned into that part of Tommy, who's this, he's the dreamer, he's hoping, and that's how I've gotten to where I am right now, is just by hoping and dreaming and not giving up and working hard and trying. And so, the answer is so much of that of Tommy, I've experienced that. I've experienced what it's like to be in your hometown and go, God, I wish I could just
Get out,
man. I feel like I got something I want to say or do, but I just don't know how to get there. And something as outrageous as opening for Green Day, you think maybe it's true. I got to follow this. And see, Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was I had a personal stake in that, and I wanted to make a film that, that for young people that had some hope, that feels hopeful, and it feels like, right now things always just seem so crazy. But I have two kids. My kids are 14 and 12. They don't look at the news. They're not thinking about what's going on in the world. Right. They have plans. They got plans for their life, and that means a lot to me. And I wanted to try to put that spirit into the movie.
Mm-hmm. So punk rock has always been about authenticity. Green Day obviously helped bring punk into the mainstream. The characters in the film, refer to themselves as punk rock musicians, and they kind of tease the drummer because he needs to get with his punk cred. But how do you make a movie that feels true to Green Day's spirit and the genre itself?
Well, it started with me kind of really trying to understand who they were and their story and put that in. But then, authenticity, I think you said that word, and that was a big guiding principle for me on the movie. There is a lot of music in the movie. It's all recorded live. I did want, when the kids end up at some point in the movie, they go to this kind of punk house place that's called The Hole, and that had to feel authentic to me. It had to feel real. I'd been in places like that before, and I wanted, audience members who watch the movie to say, like, I recognize that looks real to me. That looks, and I wanted these kids' lives to feel authentic. It was all very much part of and even the shooting style. I wanted it to feel, I told my DP, I wanted to feel rough around the edges, but also have some beauty to it. So let's find a look that captures that. It's not glossy. We don't want a glossy movie. This can't feel like that. So most decisions actually that I made, kind of that was what I was trying to do, was make a movie that's a little bit kind of ragged around the edges, and authentic, but also, like Green Day, because Green Day is both, punk rock and mainstream. There's a crazy thing, and so try to make a movie that's about the punk rock and things, but it's also accessible. Like, people can watch it. People want to go to the movies and eat popcorn and watch this movie,
Yeah. What I loved about that was like the juxtaposition of punk and, the big city feel of punk, like with LA, but also the film was a lot about small town America, and so music films often lean heavily on nostalgia, right? So how did you balance celebrating the 90s, which was obviously the Green Day's early years, while making something that resonates with audiences today who probably weren't even born when Dookie came out?
Sure. Yeah. That was a big challenge that, I wanted to make a film that, Green Day, when you go to a Green Day concert, there's people in their 50s, and there's kids who are 15 years old, and
Right.
And so the challenge was like, I want to make a movie for all these people, and not just these people. I mean, just music lovers, or anybody who's ever been to high school, which is kind of, that's kind of what I wanted to capture. But so I did think, okay, what's the way in to give this movie in its DNA, give it a nostalgia that feels earned. And so that's kind of how I came up with the idea of Tommy being this kid who's into analog.
Right.
And he's into camcorders, he's into 4-track recording, things like this. And by doing that, it allowed me to then kind of put older stuff into the film. Like, they drive in an old car, Tommy uses a flip phone, things like that. It felt, the goal was to put it into the DNA of the movie. So then if you have these objects from the past kind of show up, you are with it. It's not jarring to you, because the movie is set in the present, but I wanted to try to make it almost feel like 1992 and 2026 got together and created this film.
Yeah, I think you definitely pulled that off. If that
Thank
was the
you.
goal. The cast is amazing, and I'm proud to say my daughter Kim, as you know, assisted your casting director, Mary Beth Fox.
Yes, sir.
The cast includes terrific young actors like Mason Thames and Kyler Kaufman, alongside comedy veterans like Jenna Fischer, Angela Kinsey, Fred Armisen, and Bobby Lee. Speak to the importance of having an ensemble cast like that who really all work together so well.
Yeah, well, casting was obviously it always is a big piece of making the film, but especially for this band, I wanted to be sure that I had 3 kids that felt like a band, that felt as much like a band, like Green Day feels like a band. So I spent a lot of time, as your daughter will tell you, trying to find these 3 kids. And the third is Ryan Faust, who was incredible. He played the drummer.
Right.
And once I found them, we got together and we spent a lot of time. They played the songs, they worked on the music, they hung out, and they just kind of got to know each other. And immediately I was like, oh, this feels real. This feels like this could be a band, And then the other piece of it was on this road movie. I just wanted fun characters along the way. I just wanted to have these memorable stops along the way where you'd kind of meet a character and then that character's in the rearview mirror, but you're just kind of remembering and have a good laugh or whatever. So I was lucky enough to get some incredible, funny, you mentioned Fred Armisen, Bobby Lee, Angela Kinsey, my wife Jenna, who actually wasn't playing a comedic role, but she's also phenomenal in the movie. Sean Gunn, to name another. And that was part of from the beginning. I thought, let's have a film with all these funny people who will also just make the movie funnier than I can write it.
Yeah.
They all brought something to it that was just unique and special.
Fred Armisen's character is
yeah. Yeah, he's really great.
I'll at the risk of saying he kind of stole the movie in one particular scene. He was just awesome. The cast is an awesome mix of The Office and Saturday Night Live, perhaps two of the funniest shows on television over the last bazillion years. Was that a strategy or goal at the outset?
No, not necessarily. That was just, me working with people I love and know, and it just worked out that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And did Green Day ever say that didn't happen, but we wish it had? Or you absolutely have to include this. Were there any stories like that surprised you? Like they gave you a note and said, hey, why don't you throw this in, or, something like that?
Well, definitely. I mean, the scene you're talking about with Fred Armisen was a scene that really did happen to them.
Oh, wow.
Slightly different, but the essence of that scene is very true. And
when they were young and poor and just starting out and hitting the road, like in the back of a van kind of thing, or
yeah. They were in Germany actually, and they needed a place to stay because they didn't have anywhere booked, and so they ended up, I don't want to give it away to the viewers, right. But that led to this moment of craziness for them. Yeah.
So the theatrical business has changed dramatically over the years. As a filmmaker, how much harder for you is it today to get an original comedy made compared to 10 or 15 years ago?
Oh, it's not easy. It took us about 5 years to get this movie made.
Wow.
You think when you got Green Day and all their music, you think like, okay, someone's going to raise their hand. And a lot of people really liked it and were sort of like interested, but we couldn't get anyone to finally, say yes until it landed at Live Nation's desk, and they were like, we'll make this movie. I'm so grateful that they did. I don't think it would have been made if they didn't, pony up for it. So, but it's tough. It's tough. There is a trend changing. I mean, as we've seen this summer, Gen Z is going to the movies, and it's really exciting. So hopefully that might change. We might be coming back, and it's easier to get comedies and smaller films made, and not just big blockbuster films.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, do the studios do they still know how to make and market mid-budget comedies, or have streamers fundamentally changed audience expectations about what kind of movies people leave the house to see now?
I think that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think there's some truth in that. For sure. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. If obviously if the studios see that there's a chance to make money, they're gonna change their strategy. But right now, it does seem like the streamers are the ones who are kind of driving a more mid-budget film. So
this might be a tough question to answer, given that a theatrical release is the holy grail for a filmmaker. But there's constant debate about theatrical versus streaming. Should all movies optimally have a theatrical run and the big screen experience, or are there certain films with stories that are perfectly suited to your living room and streaming, especially with the size of TVs today?
I mean, that's a really good question. So my favorite movie of the year so far is The Invite. right? That's not a big move. That's one room. It's 4 people in a room, in an apartment. And yet it works so well on the big screen. And I think if you were to make the argument for a movie that could just be on the small screen on a streamer, you'd maybe say The Invite. But how great is that movie in a room with a bunch of people,
Right. Well, I mean, people talk about the audience experience. It's like we go to see a film in a theater. Part of that experience is being there with other people and enjoying that together, like the old days.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said for that. And I think there's something lost a little bit when we're not doing that, when we're all watching our stories at home by ourselves on our couch, that, going out and sitting in a theater and watching it, experiencing something with all these other people and laughing together and crying together. It's a wonderful thing. And I always feel so much better watching a movie, especially leaving a movie theater, having sat in there with a whole big bunch of people watching a film. I feel closer to something. It does something for me, in terms of the greater sort of my society, or, living with other people. It does something. It's why I love theater too. I love to go to theater because I love a moment where we're all in there together thinking about this, whatever the play is that we're watching, So, gosh, I would love it if every film got a theatrical release.
Yeah, it's also like just a reason to get out of the house. Right?
Exactly.
This thing, we never have to leave the house with this thing,
No,
literally.
true.
And I think for one's mental health to just, I could watch it on my big screen TV, but maybe it would be a good idea to get out of the house and mix it up with other humans,
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Yep. So we've seen the studios become increasingly risk adverse. They're relying on sequels, franchises, and films with existing IP. Does that make it harder for original filmmakers to break through, or are there just different paths today for different types of films?
I think it makes it harder for people to get their movie on a big screen, for sure. But I haven't seen numbers, but it feels like nowadays there's more films being made than when I was, 18 years old or whatever. Like, it does feel like there's more chances to make stuff. And obviously with the way technology is nowadays, you can make movies for very, very cheap, and so it has empowered the filmmaker, Of course, then the next step is, well, how do you get it out for people to see? And that's, it's always been the challenge, who knows where it's all headed? Who knows where we're going with these changes that happen in the industry? But I feel like the industry's always been in flux and always kind of reinventing itself. So,
are there with distribution? Are there more avenues for that today because of technology, or are those extremely limited and not very good?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little of both. I think there is more opportunities for distribution, but a lot of it you realize, I don't know if no one's ever even heard of this this platform that, so what is this,
Right.
It's tough. I think it's tough either way, but I don't know.
What about AI? Where do you see AI as a filmmaker right now, in terms of how it's maybe impacting or being utilized today versus where we're going to be in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, AI is a little scary to me. I'm someone who actively does not use AI when I'm writing. I haven't made a film with AI, it's a concern for sure. Just jobs wise, first of all, it's a concern of what happens to all the jobs that people have that are being replaced by AI, but then also the authenticity. I think one of the things that we've always loved about movies, it was inherent to movies. It was a human telling stories to each other, and it feels a little bit odd if it's somehow AI is helping to generate that. We can't get away from it. We can't escape it. I mean, obviously it's here. It's not going away, but I'm one who says, I feel better just trying to, work my brain as much as I can to come up with an idea and to work that idea and not rely on AI. I don't even know how it works, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, it is pretty scary. I mean, it is unbelievable in terms of what it can do, but that's partly why it is terrifying.
Mm.
And I look ahead and I wonder, you know, deep fakes, things like that, how elections could be influenced, and
Yes.
you know, you have a candidate who could stand there and say the most ridiculous things, and you don't know whether it's real or not. You know.
Yeah, that is very scary. That
Yeah.
kind of goes back to what I was saying about my kids aren't paying attention to that stuff. They just have hopes and dreams, and I am the one who's up at night worrying about, like, what are we leaving my kids? You know, what is this world we're leaving our kids? In so many ways, there's everywhere you look. It's like, oh man, I don't want to look at the environment. I don't want to look at AI. You know, it's like,
Yeah, I have this debate with people all the time. I'm like, but do you understand what it was like to just hang out in a record store? You know, like,
Yeah, man.
yeah, you can get
Yeah.
you can get music on Spotify, but there were no girls hanging around your phone. You know what I mean? Like,
right? Yeah, man.
I
Yeah,
used to
I mean,
spend hours and hours just hanging around the local record store, and you know, that's where you met people.
absolutely. The mall. We go to the mall.
Yeah.
You know, well, that was one of the things with the film was, like, you know, I wanted to make a film where it's like these kids are out handing their cassette tape, you know, they're driving around, you know, it's like, that was why I used to do it as a band. You know, now you make a song and you put it on TikTok and you might be a huge hit, which is wild, you know?
Yeah, no, I
It's
love that
wild.
part of the film because it reminded me of an experience I had. I was working at the time. This was like, oh my God, probably 40 years ago, up in Westchester. And it was right around the time that the singer John Waite had Missing You, I'll Be Missing You.
Oh,
And,
sure. Yeah.
and I guess he lived up there for a while. And when my friends and I would go to lunch at the local diner, he was always in there. And one of my friends that I worked with was in a band. And he always had a cassette with him. But he was very shy. And I said, give me the tape. And when John was leaving the diner, I ran after him one day and I said, here, this is my friend's tape. You know, would you take a, you know, we're local guys, like, would you take a listen? And he looked at me and he goes, send it to EMI.
No, really? Oh, God,
I was like,
man.
all right, thanks, Johnny.
Okay, man.
But it
Do you have
so
the address
reminded
of
me-
EMI?
Yeah, but it really reminded me because I'll never forget, like, handing a big star a tape, a cassette tape, and saying,
Yeah.
give it a listen. So when, I won't give it away, but it's a great scene in the film when that comes full circle. After audiences see NIMRODS, which, by the way, is taken from the 1997, I think it was the 5th studio album that Green
Yeah.
Day made, Nimrod. What's the one thing you want them to say on the way out?
Well, I hope young people say, you know, can I get a guitar? You know,
Right.
I want to do that. I want a guitar. That would be the best. Yeah, a dream would be guitar sales go up after NIMRODS. You know, that would be the dream. I mean, my son plays drums and guitar, and it's such a fun thing to experience with him
Sure.
and see him doing and hear him express himself through that. And my daughter's a singer, and you know, I feel like if a kid is saying that, then the movie worked. It worked.
Yeah,
You know?
well, that's a whole. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Mick Jagger or some humongous star. But when someone asked him, like, why did you get into music? He just said, to meet girls.
Yeah, man.
So
For
like
sure.
for nothing, if for that alone, like if you're a young guy or a young girl, like you just meet people and it's just, God, like I'm a drummer, but I still haven't played in a band. That's a sort of a bucket list thing of mine. But I wish I had done it and started playing. I didn't start playing until I was like in my early 30s. But what an
my
experience to
son-
be in a teenager and be in a band. What's
Oh,
better
yeah.
than that, right?
Absolutely. No, I tell my son, who's a really good musician, he's a great drummer, great guitar player, and I just say, just keep doing this, buddy. You know,
Yeah.
this, you don't know where this will take you.
Yeah,
But-
and even
but
if
it's a
he
good
never
thing
ends
to
up
have.
in music, I think there's so many skills one gets from doing that, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
If you could direct a film inspired by the story of another iconic band, who would that band be?
Well, a band I grew up loving was Devo.
Oh,
I've
wow.
always loved Devo, and I think that they seem like they have a really cool story going on somehow
Oh,
with
interesting.
them, and I like their music. So, but you know, I would love it. I mean, it would be such a cool thing if NIMRODS has enough of a moment that some other band says, "Hey, man, do you want to take a crack at us?" Maybe there's a way of kind of telling our story or doing something with us, because it was a fun challenge, and it was so unique to have the entire catalog of music to choose from and to try out in the story and see, and let the music kind of, in some ways, dictate the story in some places and stuff. So I would love to do it again if the opportunity arises.
Yeah, and Green Day was they're such a fun group of guys. So to make a film with them in particular, I'm sure was an amazing experience that way. Last question.
Really.
So many music films today are documentaries. Is there a music doc in your future?
Oh, who knows? Maybe. I love music documentaries, so we'll see if someone. I don't have an idea at the top of my head, but
a Devo doc.
Shy away from maybe a Devo doc. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Lee, thanks for chatting. This was really an enjoyable conversation. Again, the film is NIMRODS. It opens in theaters nationwide August 14th. Good luck with the film, and we'll come back sometime and talk about your next film.
Appreciate it, man. Love talking to you, man. Thank you.
Likewise.
All right, take care. See ya.
This episode was produced and edited by me, Andy Ostroy. It was co-produced by Maddie Rosenberg and Jen Hammoud for Radio Free Rhinecliff, with additional editing by Maddie Rosenberg, music by Andrew Hollander, and graphic design by Cricket Langell. And with a special thanks to our sponsor, The Epicurean. Again, thanks for listening. Please rate and review wherever you get your podcasts, and subscribe to the Backroom with Andy Ostroy YouTube channel, where you can watch full videos of our interviews. See you next time.